Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third and final day of the DreamHack Montreal Hearthstone Grand Prix. Over 130 players entered the arena earlier this weekend, and now we have cut it down to just 8. My name's Cora Georgiou, and joining me on the desk for the first set of the day is going to be Falcone and Lorinda. Guys, after 9 rigorous rounds of Swiss and then a cut to the top 16 yesterday, we're down to just 8 of the top players in this tournament. It has been brutal, it has been rigorous, but it's also been an absolutely amazing experience for me. How have you guys been enjoying it, Falcone?
It's just been incredible. It's been great, as I say every time, to watch the Swiss, the best players making their way to the top. We've seen the first part of the top slot yesterday. We did top 16, and now it just all comes down to this. It's the pinnacle of the tournament, and I can't wait to get started.
Lorinda, have you been enjoying your first time in Canada?
Yeah, it's been really good fun, actually, and the tournament itself has been great as well, so just a good mix of cultures. Again, I said this on the first day, mix of cultures in the tournament and outside the door.
Yes, it absolutely has been, and we had an incredibly stacked top 16 after 9 rounds of Swiss play, but unfortunately 8 of those players have been cut from the tournament because top 16, as we know, is a single elimination bracket. Deck lists are open, so all information is public. Let's take a look at the 8 players who are going to be battling for that top spot throughout today. All right, so first match up yesterday, we saw Th3rat versus Zalay. Zalay had been battling through this tournament, but more so battling against Muzzy for that spot from the Americas region in the World Championships via the last call qualification. But Zalay's luck came to an end as Th3rat did beat him in a 3-2 victory. And our first match of the day will be a battle of cat and mouse. It's going to be Th3rat up against Hotmeowth. Hotmeowth actually defeated Coach Twisted off stream. We didn't get a chance to see it, but we saw Walla Oompa up against Impact on stream. And Walla Oompa, a relative newcomer to the Hearthstone scene, took down Impact, who is a Canadian Hearthstone veteran. And then we had Monsanto versus Xiaoyun off stream as well. Unfortunately, Canadian native Monsanto could not take that one, and now Xiaoyun will be going up against Walla Oompa in our second series of the day. Terrence M was probably the best story throughout the Swiss rounds. He was undefeated going into the 9th round, did unfortunately lose to Zalay, and then was defeated in the first round of 16 by Talion. But Talion is no slouch, of course. You'll remember his name from HCT last year. And then we had what was my favorite series of the day, even though it was one of the fastest. Muzzy versus Cydonia. Muzzy had a ton riding on this tournament because he wants to extend his lead over Cydonia for HCT points, and he did it in a blistering fast fashion. And then we have Teebs versus Tars. Tars, with his absolutely unique deck lineup, did end up taking it over Teebs, and Insum versus Iniesta went out on off stream. Insum did end up beating Iniesta. So there we have our top 8 and our 4 quarter-final matches for today. Which one are you guys looking forward to most?
Talion, Muzzy.
Yeah?
It's an easy choice for me. I mean, this first one's going to be a good one, I think, as well. But Talion he's snuck through this tournament with hardly spoken to any of us. We haven't had to cast him, and he's just crept along. He is a phenomenally good player. It's not understating it. He's one of the people I picked out at the start of the tournament. I thought had a really good chance. Yeah. And he's just slept. You know, there's been this Muzzy Zalay story going on, and Terrence. Talion's sort of been in the shadows a little bit. I think he could win this whole thing. He
has a little bit, sort of flying under the radar, but definitely a name that we know from HCT last year has been representing Canada valiantly, but hasn't had a breakout performance in quite a while now. So I think that one could be great, but I personally am very excited for our first series of the day. It's going to be Th3rat versus Hotmeowth, 2 of the most well-known names in Hearthstone, period, but in this top 8 as well. Th3rat took down Zalay. That is no easy feat. Zalay came into this tournament as the #1 seed going into the top 16, whereas Th3rat just made it in as number 16. So for the Giant to be defeated, that's a big feat.
Right? It's the curse of the Swiss, as some people will say. Th3rat is a great player. I agree with you. It is one of the most exciting games of the day because Th3rat and Hotmeowth both have a lot of prestige behind them. They've got a lot to prove. Th3rat I believe there was a rat stuck in a lift earlier.
Yeah,
there was. I heard news of...
This rat was in an elevator.
I heard news of a rat stuck in an elevator. It turned out it was Th3rat.
More on that story later.
But he has arrived in the building. We have confirmation that the rat is in the building and he's ready to play some Hearthstone. You know, barring that little snafu earlier today with some hotel transportation. But then we've got Hotmeowth, who successfully has not been stuck in an elevator that I know of this weekend. And he also has a great pedigree in Hearthstone. He plays for Panda Global. Th3rat, of course, plays for Splice. Hotmeowth's got a lot of friends. He's got a lot of fans. He's got a great support group behind him of players that were in this tournament, are now unfortunately out of the tournament, but now they want to see Meowth take it all.
I would like to, yeah, I mean, these two players are two of the players that I think people at home sometimes get a bit bored about us talking about this style of player where they're very much people in the know sort of players. We've seen Meowth at Worlds, we've seen the Rat be successful and run rat races, but they're the sort of players who people at home are saying, well, what have they actually really won? And they're the players that we talk about a lot and say how good they are, and then they haven't quite got the profile, and one of these guys winning this will raise that profile outside of just pro players and casters saying how good they are.
I do want to mention, by the way, the lift thing is relevant because players do have a way that they want to prepare for big games. Some of them like to sit on their own, they like to focus.
Get stuck in a lift.
I don't think getting stuck in a lift. But what I want to say is that Th3rat's just been through that. I think there was a little bit of a question as to whether he was going to make it here on time. He's going to have just been stressed about that. And his mind is not going to have been on Hearthstone or whatever preparation rituals he likes to go through. I wonder if that will come into play here.
We're gonna have to see if his mental fortitude has been tested. Let's check out the picks and bans for Th3rat versus Hotmeowth and see what they have brought to the table. It's gonna be mutual Druid bans. I wouldn't kick off day 3 of DreamHack Montreal any other way. Then Th3rat has Warrior, Priest, Paladin, and Hotmeowth with Shaman, Priest, Warrior.
Yeah, Meowth was really talking about how he wanted to bring Quest Mage to this tournament instead of the Warrior, and he just couldn't quite bring himself to do it. Like, on the way here, we're in the taxi with him coming here, and he's like, really, we're not sure, I'm still not sure. But the decks were submitted, like...
Yeah.
Okay.
But he submitted Warrior because it was a safer option, but he really wanted to play Quest Mage.
You're suggesting that we need to have a Hotmeowth TARS final?
No, but you know what? Hotmeowth's teammate, Ray C, brought Quest Mage to this tournament.
Right.
Ray C didn't make it into the top 16. Hotmeowth did. So maybe Quest Mage was not the right call to make here. But for TARS, clearly it was. So regardless of Meowth's lineup insecurities, it has worked out very well for him. He had a couple of sketchy rounds in the rounds of Swiss. He did end up with a 7-2 record, however, so he did make a direct qualification into top 16 without having to worry about any tiebreakers. But it was going a bit rough for him there for a little bit. I remember speaking to him, and he was quite worried, a little bit. Off his game, I would have to say. He had some really unfortunate unfortunate devolves. Yes.
It wasn't the strongest start, and actually quite a few of our notable players out there, right at the start of the Swiss, I remember back to day 1, they had a score like 2-2, 3-2. It was something that it wasn't how you'd like to start the tournament if you intend to make it into the top 8. Meowth did make it. He's had a chance to reset, and if anything, he's going to be feeling pretty good about that because in spite of a bad start, he's then made it all the way. That does say that that does show that he does have a very strong lineup. And I guess this series is just going to be Shaman versus Paladin, which was the correct pick.
Yep, in spite of some bad starts to their lineup, some bad starts to their day by being stuck in an elevator, we have these two excellent players showing off in the top 8. Predictions, guys. Lorinda, quick, who's it going to be?
I think Th3rat takes this. I think he takes it 3-2.
Okay.
Meowth.
Close?
Meowth.
Be close.
All right, I won't break this tie. Let's get right into it without any further ado. Th3rat versus Hotmeowth, the final day of DreamHack Montreal.
All right, game number 1 of the top 8 DreamHack Montreal. It doesn't get better than this. Well, maybe the final does.
Yeah, and some of the quarterfinals are really good as well. It's just going to be a great day all around. This top 16 has been stacked, and that's, of course, results in a really good top 8.
I have to admit, this is one of the games I have been looking forward to the most today. I'd be lying if I didn't want to see TARS as well. So you have got more to look forward to. I've got more to look forward to anyway. But we are definitely starting off strong. Shaman, Priest, Warrior versus Warrior, Priest, Paladin. And these are two lineups that we've seen a lot of recently. We're going to see their opening hands right now. Let's jump into the game. Oh, a Priest mirror. What a nice way to start.
Priest versus Priest, and this, as we've talked about all the way through the event, is actually potentially the most important. Rat does have the Burgley Bully tech. Let's have a very quick look through what Meowth's got in his Priest. His is a little bit of the more standard build, but he does have a Cabal Courier.
Yeah, he just threw that away in his mulligan. That's something, again, I mentioned it almost every time. Pavel was running it in the European Championship, and he won. It's something that seems a little bit odd at first, but then you consider the amount of additional value the card can give you. Cabal Courier can give you hero cards, right? So Frostlich Jaina can come out of nowhere if you haven't had Shadow Reaper Anduin down yet, for example. There's a lot
no
that card can
Mookla,
do.
by the way, in Rat's deck. It is just the Burgley Bully, so it's like a compromise on all that stuff we can see in some of the decks.
Well, before Mookla was even experimented with, Burgley Bully felt like quite an obvious way to go about it. It's something that not everyone is playing, but I believe that that was a card that people had been experimenting with even before King Mookla started to come in.
And of course, the Bully's so good just as a 4/6 in the mirror.
Exactly.
That's the important part.
Exactly. 4/6, plays around Dragonfire Potion and the two that I won't name.
So, just about cycling into your Anduin and into your Raza is the start of this game, and if you get there quickly, you're in a massively superior position.
And then part 3 of the combo is Velen. It's the less important one, but that's kind of the big finisher later on. Hotmeowth does have Velen in his opening hand, but both of these guys are missing the two main pieces. Kazakus will come into play if this game does go long enough where these cards are still missing, or if Kazakus is drawn early, a big tempo board can shift things dramatically.
Yeah, Velen's kind of the tiebreaker. If you both complete around the same sort of time, then Velen is, if you're slightly behind, will bring you back into it, or if you're level, you will win. Neither player playing Gnomish Inventor, both players playing Novice. So very similar lists apart from that.
And that's more the standard. Gnomish Inventor is something you see sometimes. Oh, okay. Prophet Velen from Curious Glimmerroot. Already, Hotmeowth. It's kind of an advantage here. It would have been nice if that was Raza or Anduin, but, I mean, 2 Prophet Velens.
How much do you want? Yeah, it would have been nice if it was the best card in my deck. I'll take the 3rd best. It'll have to do. Again, the posturing early on is all about this card draw, not worrying about getting this blown up. There's nothing really needs buffing in terms of the spells in the mirror, so just get on with cycling through your deck.
And Burgley Bully comes down on turn 4 from the Rat. Best time to play Burgley Bully. Board is empty. Hotmeowth doesn't have many available mana crystals to deal with it. And he's just not going to be able to deal with it. The Rat can pain away this Doomsayer or play Shadowwood Horror to deny Hotmeowth the card draw as well. That was a really strong Bully play.
So if you're just watching DreamHack for the final day and you haven't been with us all weekend, first of all, you've missed a lot. Watch the VODs, do all that good stuff. The Burgley Bully in this matchup is all about getting the coins for later use with your Anduin, with your Raza, and just getting loads and loads of 2 damage or even 4 damages to the face. So the Rat playing the Bully early means that Meowth's going to have to deal with it with spells, which means that the Rat will get some coins for that later machine gun finish.
And in a kind of slightly worse scenario, the coins help Lyra as well. If you don't actually draw Anduin again until very late into the game, it's not like the coins are there doing nothing. They still do have a function.
And of course, the Bully needs to be dealt with as a 4/6. It's an awkward thing for Priest to deal with anyway. And although most of it is posturing with minions, it is one of the few minions that is actually a threat. You can't afford to take 12. Well, you can because you can heal it back up. You don't really want to start losing resources because you've taken 12 from a Bully. So Meowth needs to work out how he wants to deal with this quickly.
Now, because this Bully can't be dealt with at the moment, and because there's a Lyra in Hotmeowth's hand, is there ever a world where Hotmeowth just tries to mill the Rat by filling his hand up with coins?
I mean, that's an option he has available to him, for sure.
If he does hit Raza or Anduin, he gets a huge advantage in the game.
Yeah, and the game, and we always talk about whether it goes to fatigue or not when you talk about milling cards. If it doesn't go to fatigue, it's actually mathematically irrelevant. However, if it does go to fatigue, then you have milled a card from the game, and that card is going to be relevant. So yeah, there is an option for him to do that. But Raza picked up now, so only one of those 2 cards available to be milled. And actually, this is a menacing board state as well that is going to need something to actually deal with it.
It is. Dragonfire Potion, as I mentioned before, doesn't deal with the bully. It does deal with the Raza. This turn 4 bully has made such an impact on this game. Hotmeowth could just drop Prophet Velen, but it just gets deathed. Could drop Raza. That would also probably just get deathed.
Yeah, that's going to definitely get an advantage out of this, even if it's not a game-winning one, because Meowth's now going to have to use cards that he didn't want to in ways that he didn't want to.
That was 6 mana, kill Raza, deal some damage to the Burgly Bully, and give my opponent a coin.
Yeah, not fun at all, but sometimes you've got to make those choices. Meowth knows the consequences of what he just did, but felt that he still needed to do it anyway. Rat obviously in a fantastic position here.
All right. Playing the Holy Nova just to heal up the Burgly Bully, it looks like, because then he can heal it up for free as well.
Ever since he played this bully, followed by the Doomsayer that Meowth played, followed by getting killed by the Rat, this whole game has been around this bully. This is... I was going to say it's usually a subplot, but this is actually becoming the main plot of this particular game of Hearthstone.
It is. It's just such a tricky card for priests to deal with. And the Rat has realized Hotmeowth has no way of dealing with it. Right. So keeping it as healthy as possible, healing it up at every opportunity. There's Prophet Velen. It's funny that both of the... Oh, okay, so Raza has been picked up and played by Meowth, of course, but the Rat still needs his 2 main combo pieces if he wants to fully utilize these coins.
I don't know if he's actually considering playing the Velen there, so I think he could have done to just keep this bully on a huge health total by trading and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is fine.
He's playing a coin, so it's actually happening, Neil.
Yeah, he's actually getting somewhere with the bully, and he's healing this back up, just making it consistently hard for Meowth to deal with. And this is a really weird wave to start the day.
It's weird, and Hotmeowth can now deal with Prophet Velen, and essentially, in the long run, that could reduce the Rat's output by a lot, because obviously with Shadow Reaper Anduin on the board and Prophet Velen down, those coins are dealing 4 damage per
and he uses the coins and the Velens there, so you just completely gave up on that part of the combo, switching to this as a master plan of winning now.
At the same time, that bully isn't going anywhere. From where I'm standing, best case scenario for Meowth is if he drew Pint-Sized Potion and Shadow Word Horror. Neither of those cards are present just yet, so he needs to find another way of getting rid of it. These aren't ideal.
They are not ways to get rid of it. That is definitely true. Well, minions have died this game for Meowth. Just card draw.
Nothing exciting.
Yeah, nothing's going to really help him there. And every turn he's having to do this, he gives away more and more about his hand as well. Right, what can Rat muster in terms of extra damage here? Very hard to keep this tempo coming, but we did see from Dr. Jicky in one of the rounds where you can just attack with a collection of stuff and get a lot of damage done.
We're always talking about chip damage in these games and how important it is. Well, the Rat this is teetering over the edge of chip damage. Hotmeowth is already down to 16, and his board is still in full force. It's not going anywhere. There's a second Dragonfire Potion, but it still doesn't clear Burgly Bully.
Yeah, it's the dual threat, right? Meowth's having to play spells and stuff to stay alive, which is giving more coins, which in turn is setting up the Rat for when they do get to the portion of the game where they start shooting at each other. And all the time, Meowth has no option but to deal with it, because otherwise the things we're saying will actually happen, whereas in the real world what's going to happen is Meowth's just going to run out of resources and probably not die to this. He starts to create a healing potion and Liver, but it's just going to empty his hand of anything useful, and he will lose because of it, not due to it immediately.
Well, the Rat is now looking at this Kazakus and thinking to himself, I can give this Burgly Bully even more health.
Yeah, and why not? Might go for a 10 here because he hasn't actually got much going on in his hand beyond what's happening on board. Bit of value.
I wouldn't mind 5 card draw and health.
I mean, 5 to keep
Ideally.
this push going, or 10 to try and outvalue the guy you're already outvaluing.
Oh.
2 choices.
Okay, he does go with 5. Doesn't get either of the 2 options I just described, though. Summon a demon is fine. Doesn't get either of them again. So the 2 that at least I'd suggested were the best potion choices, not present. Demons is going to give him a little bit of extra value, though.
Demons in hand, demons on the board. See if that's enough. He's going to be able to do it this turn because of all those cards.
Whoa!
Yeah, just really valuing this bully, and this is fantastic. He's not all in on the play. The play is still gaining him that advantage for later, but just showing how much he is prioritising this, because he knows that Meowth is just using more and more weird ways to get rid of it. They're not working.
Now Meowth just still in this horrible position. That Burgly Bully, just a reminder, it was dropped with turn 4, the rat using his coin. It is now past turn 10. It's still there. It's healthier than ever. It's dealt a lot of damage, and it's generated, well, there's 3 coins in the rat's hand now. Several have already been used.
It's been buffed. It's been healed by a Velen early in the game. The Prix mirror, just used it to heal for 4. It's been greater healed, and it's still just there, chipping away, annoying Meowth and becoming a major problem. Meowth going to try and find a silence for this thing.
Big buff bully.
Big buff bully.
Oh, no. Well, he gets Shadow Reaper Anduin, and he's played Raza. So, in spite of this horrible start, Meowth is the first to get all of the key cards, and he's got 2 Velens.
Yep.
I don't know if it's enough because the rest of his hand is so small.
Yeah, I mean, look at the casting costs in his hand. That is the problem. That has come about from the attempts to deal with this bully. He hasn't been able to look after those cheap cards. Look at the casting costs of the rat's hand. If the rat gets the combo, he just wins with his hand because
And
not just because the coins are free, but obviously because of the mana gain, you can just cast your entire hand.
And the combo at this point is literally just Shadow Reaper Anduin. That's all the rat needs to just start dealing stupid amounts of damage in chunks of 2. Those 2 demons are a little bit unfortunate. The rat doesn't really want to discard cards, but if he has to, I guess he probably just discards 2 coins. So not the worst.
Having to deal with Lyra, of course, does not want Meowth to have any chance to find a silence to deal with this bully. If Meowth does, and almost certainly will, play Anduin next turn, it's another turn where nothing happens for him, but of course he then sets up the Velen, and that can deal with the bully the turn after.
Even Inner Fire would allow Meowth to, 2 coins. Even Inner Fire would allow Meowth to deal with that Burgly Bully. Just Inner Fire, Anduin, go. But he's just not got any of the tools.
Yeah, Anduin's going to do a lot of work here, though. Rat, you know, knowing it's probably not in hand, it's only been recently drawn. Going for the maximum tempo, and yeah, that's going to get rid of those. And this is where the rat's going to have to be very careful if he doesn't draw his Raza sometimes, his Anduin sometime soon.
We've talked so often about how often the first player to draw both of these cards does win the game in this matchup, but the rat's incredible start, that might actually cause this game to tell a different story.
It might, but you can already see how this is going to turn around rapidly with the Velens with the combo. So Rat has committed to this plan, and obviously he hasn't had another plan presented to him, to be fair.
No.
It's not like he's had another choice, but this has been a fantastic plan, and it has at least given him a chance in a game where he is definitely behind in terms of lucky draws.
Okay, pint-sized potion helps a lot here, allows Meowth to completely clear the board. Yes, he does give the rat 2 more coins, but the rat hasn't played Anduin yet, so does it actually matter? If the rat's next draw is Lyra, then maybe. But at the moment, the rat's hand is useless.
Yeah, he urgently needs a way out of this. Now, those coins are going to be strategically helpful if he can draw anything to go with them, but Meowth has just turned it on its head in 1 turn. And because he has double Velen, he doesn't have to be shy about just using Velen for damage, and he's almost setting up lethal already.
5 mana, 3/4, summon a 5/5. That seems like pretty good stats to me. One of the better minions that Meowth could have gotten, a Northshire Cleric.
Is someone injured?
Isn't actually going to draw the rat any cards this time. Oh, yeah, okay, so he has to play the Spirit Lash.
Yeah. And then, despite having a plan to put Meowth on the back foot, he's just not managing to get there, the rat here.
Glimmerroot into Glimmerroot. Okay, all right. Standard. Oh, into the Prophet Velen. Both players now have picked up a Prophet Velen this game from Curious Glimmerroot. That is pretty weird.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to help the Rat much, though.
Well, it will if his next draw is Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Will it? He's going to take so much damage now. I guess it will, because he's got all those coins. Yeah, he just wins the game, sure.
Each coin is 4 damage, right? Plus the, yeah.
Shadow, he can't play both in the same turn, though. Rat is going to set up lethal here for the next turn.
That's true.
Because he has the double Velen action available to him, he doesn't mind wasting a Velen to only do 8 damage.
You're right.
Careful how I chose those words.
Again, the Rat played his Velen earlier to heal up Burgly Bully.
Yeah.
So it's hugely relevant that he generated an extra one.
And Meowth just making sure he's still getting lethal. He can afford to make trades here. You don't have to go face every single time if there is a better option available, because he's setting up lethal in multiple different ways here.
Yep.
And this is absolutely fine. Just take away all of the Rat's resources and put the Rat into a almost impossible situation.
Acolyte of Pain, definitely not what the Rat was looking for here. Now it looks like the Rat's best play is just Velen heal face for 4, and that is not going to cut it.
Yeah, when we say that it's all about who gets the combo first most of the time, we have just seen an opportunity there for someone to try and win the other way, and it was still about who got the combo first.
It looked like the Rat was going to win this, despite not getting the combo first. Exactly. I have to say, I think the Rat's Kazakus potion really went against him. He wanted card draw more than anything else. He would have liked to buff Burgly Bully up as well, but he got demons and he got and demons. He got demons and demons. He got a 5/5 demon and demons added to the hand. It's not what he needed. The Rat has left.
Continue playing out the turn.
The Rat has left the building. The Rat? The Rat?
Just don't go in any elevators.
Meowth just looks very confused, and I'm pretty confused as well. But we'll get he's back. He's back. It's okay.
Yeah, he's just been checking something out. Oh, it looks like he's picking up the deck lists. The deck lists are open.
Yep.
And he's come back and explained something to Meowth there. Obviously, these two guys are friends. And what he was explaining was almost certainly that I just didn't have your deck list for the next game. Yeah. Something like that.
Exactly. Now, so that game in the end did go as expected.
It did,
right?
yeah.
The combo pieces picked up. Meowth ended up winning. The second Prophet Velen would have been helpful, although I don't think he ever needed to play it. But what the second Prophet Velen in the hand means is that you can play the first one in a high-risk, high-reward scenario.
Sure, yeah, you just
without
use
the
it
risk.
as a value, just as a value engine rather than actually as a win condition.
Exactly.
You're not throwing your win condition away. A 7/7 that helps you do an additional 4 to 8 damage on a turn is absolutely fine if you have the backup one.
If you can play the best card in your deck, I'm not talking specifically about Velen, just generally. If you can play the best card in your deck and it doesn't get removed, you often win. But if it does get removed, sure, maybe you lose. But if you've got a second copy of the best card in your deck, then you can play the first one and have it as more of a risk. If it does get removed, it just doesn't matter. And now the Rat's going to come back with his Pirate Warrior, another matchup we've seen quite a bit of this weekend.
Yeah, I think we called it on day one, and it has proven to be pretty much true, although this top 8 has got some unusual decks. Pirate Warrior, if it takes down Priests, has been a very, very powerful weapon. It's not favoured, but it definitely gets those wins in there. But when you've already lost your Priest, this is now something that Rat has to win this particular game, or he's going to, other than the normal being 2-0 down, he's going to be in a very bad spot. It's going to be harder than usual to sweep this Priest.
Yes,
against this Priest.
And Hotmeowth has a pretty incredible opening hand to put a stop to the Pirate Warrior. Potion of Madness dealing with the first chunk of pirates. He's got Doomsayer to deal with the second, a Gluttonous Ooze to gain some armor later on and deal with a huge weapon. It's looking really strong for Meowth at the moment. But one thing I've learned in this tournament is not to count out a Pirate Warrior too soon. It's a mistake I've made several times while casting. It's not one I'm going to make this game.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to take 10 off the opponent's health total to see if they're in trouble at any time, which means even at the start of the game, they're almost in trouble before you start, because Pirates just pulls 10 out of nowhere so often, or 11. Just on back-to-back, they're out of cards, and suddenly they just pull a Leroy followed by an Arcanite, or whatever the equivalent of that is in this particular deck. Let's have a look what there is. Pretty sure, I just feel that Rat's not a Leroy sort of player, but let's have a look. No, he's a Greenskin kind of guy, I just found it. So no
He's a what kind of guy?
Captain Greenskin.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense to me. 1 Spellbreaker, 1 Naga. That's the breakdown for the rat.
That's Naga Corsair, not Naga Sea Witch, for any of you wild players out there.
Yeah, sure. People probably getting palpitations about that because that's quite a good deck right now. All right, Meowth finding something to occupy the board. That's important. He didn't really want to have to just play Novice that turn. He definitely wasn't going to.
Arcanine Reaper, that's going to do a good job of controlling the board. As long as Meowth can keep his health up, he has got Priest of the Feast to help him do that. Arcanine Reaper can just kill the rat's minions for free.
Yeah,
wow.
He's in a really, really good spot now.
Not only that, but he's got a removal for his opponent's Arcanine Reaper. So Priest just doing what Priest... There's mean things that Priest do and stealing the rat's toys.
Doesn't have a Galactic Crawler yet. That's the one piece of the puzzle not available. And that's the only thing... What can Rat do? He's got a decent hand himself, but it's going to be very hard to get through all this stuff. Holding back on playing a Pirate. We did see yesterday that playing up no Pirates against someone who Galactic Crawlers, it was in the Sidonia game, I think. He didn't do it on purpose, but he didn't get any Pirates. He was winning with Spellbreakers and Corcoran Elites.
Yeah.
And the last turn when he did play the Pirates who basically set up the win, the Galactic Crawler lost a lot of his power. It killed the Pirate, but the 3-4 part of it was too slow because it played on like turn 7.
Yeah. It's a very tricky decision, Galactic Crawler, tempo versus value. Like, what do you actually want to get from it? But Hotmeowth hasn't had a choice here. It's not been drawn yet. He's got to go for value, and as you say, that might just be too little too late. I don't know, though. Meowth's start has been so strong, regardless. But you said to subtract 8 from Meowth's health total at all times. That, sorry, subtract 10. That leaves 8. That doesn't look good.
Last turn was interesting because he did give up the coin with Priest of the Feast in his hand, so that's not just the damage he does with the weapon, but also 3 extra that he could get with the Priest of the Feast. Yeah. He does still have that Spirit, actually does still have that Priest, so he's still got a little while to go. And the reason that Priest is pretty good against Warrior is you can sort of add that 10 back on. You're just looking in terms of what a Priest's burst is capable of doing in terms of healing.
Okay. What were you saying about burst healing?
Yeah, exactly.
Something about it being good against Pirate Warrior?
Meowth needs to work out if he can die next turn. He doesn't want to have to play this healing potion this turn. He can't.
He can't. Well, it's the ooze that he's thinking about. He keeps dragging the mouse over the weapon like, oh, it's only 2 armor. Is it worth it? It heals me for 4, essentially, because I get the 2 armor and the
And even worse, you can't deal with an Arcanine Reaper later if you ooze this. And there's 3 cards sitting in Rat's hand.
But you know what? The value of putting a body on the board, being able to preemptively deal with anything else that comes down next turn so that he can use his mana on the greater healing potion, the ooze did just make sense for me out here.
Yeah, I agree, because the healing potion, it would have been a much harder decision without it. Meowth can also, like you say, get that board occupation. It's very important that the Priest can take down 1 or 2 minions with their own minions. When your collection of tech cards basically is trying to deal with actual real-life, honed, targeted minions, if they do 1 or 2 extra things like an ooze trading into this Corcoran, that's a huge bonus. That's not why the ooze is actually there.
Exactly. And now, okay, Priest of the Feast being prepared, being primed for some major healing later.
I mean, it's just a great card in this matchup. A 3-6, even forgetting the obvious bit where you don't die because you heal for so much. A 3-6 is just a terrific card in this matchup.
Well, exactly. It's a 3-6 that has taunt as well, sort of. It doesn't have taunt if your opponent has lethal. In every other scenario, it does have taunt, because the rat has to deal with it, otherwise it just out-heals.
Hydra not a particularly big threat because of Anduin in hand. Next turn will be fine, so Meowth will be working out how much does he care about this Hydra. He's just going to leave it till next turn almost certainly and just ignore it, I think. He'll probably work out if there's any point of putting the Novice into it just for the 3 damage, but he'd rather keep the Novice alive so it can deal with 2 ones.
Look at that.
The face.
Hydra just being ignored. How disrespectful. Such a great beast, and you're just pretending it's not there. Yeah,
one thing that big, chunky minions have always been bad at, it used to be the same as Savannah High Main, is if they get ignored, all they can really do effectively is go face. You know, they're just too slow to start picking a board apart. Obviously, this one might choose to kill the Priest of the Feast because the Rat may assess that is going to do more long-term damage than, you know, doing 8 to face. If Priest of the Feast heals you 3 times, that's 9. If it takes out a minion, that's more damage, so
You know what card heals Hotmeowth the most at the moment? Dragonfire Potion.
Yeah, it does look rather good, doesn't it? That's just had to go all in there on the fact that Meowth might not have it, but Meowth has got it. Absolutely fine, and on 20 now. Yeah, the Rat doesn't want to see any more of this. We say the Pirates can come from nowhere, but not with no cards and an opponent on 29, they can't.
We're going to game 3. Meowth with the 2-0 lead with the Priest. This would not be the first Priest sweep that we have seen this weekend, or the second, or a lot more numbers than that.
I don't know how many there's been, but there's been a lot, Dan. We've definitely seen a lot.
I'm not going to list numbers here, it's fine. The Rat down to his Paladin. One of the least, well, less popular classes. I don't want to say least. One of the less popular classes. We see it on and off along with Warrior, along with some mages. It's not been seen as infrequently as Hunter and Rogue, which I don't actually recall seeing at all. Walla Umpa had Rogue.
Walla Umpa's Rogue is still there, and people should check that out later with the double print build taking them to the top 8. This particular Paladin for the Rat, it is nothing unusual. One Stormwatcher, so playing the double Corpse Taker, but he's not playing Chums or any of that stuff. It's a normal mid-range meandering build.
It makes this a good hand as well.
Yes.
The one Stormwatcher, as long as it doesn't get drawn by turn 3 or turn 4, ideally.
Yeah, exactly. That does give him a chance to ambush the Priest. You can just beat people on turn 5 or 6 with this deck.
Yep. The Rat will be a little bit afraid by the Shadow Visions. Obviously, extra utility to deal with cheap things, Pint-Sized Potion, Shadow Word's Horrors, and extra Shadow Word Pains. But Hotmeowth may decide he needs to take a Dragonfire Potion. All of these are the things that are going through the Rat's head at the moment as he tries to work out if these Corpse Takers are going to survive and if big boards of Murlocs later on are going to survive.
Yeah, and again, with this matchup, you need to keep something stuck to the board at all times. There are 4 important buffs, plus the double Bone Mare, so 6 buffs in this deck. If you lose your board, you end up in trouble. But this might be a different game. Not many Murlocs around, and double Corpse Taker. This may work out differently to how this matchup usually goes down.
Well, yeah, there's no crazy Murloc synergy just yet. And Hotmeowth actually has no method for removing Corpse Taker. So coin 4 into 4, looking pretty good right now. But Murloc War Leader is so good with Murloc Tidecaller.
Yeah, now the Rat has both available options to him of how to win this game.
Oh my God. And I was looking at the Corpse Takers like, yeah, okay, well, obviously you go 4 into 4. Nope, not with the War Leader pickup. Gentle Megasaur on 4 could just end Meowth.
Yeah, it really is going to be difficult for him, and his one card that he's been nurturing to actually get something out of this game is the Silence. That was more of a plan to keep it for a Spike Ridge Steed or something much later on, but that might be used a lot faster if he doesn't think he can get to turn 6 intact, which it looks like he probably can't right now. He also will know from the Rat's previous turn that the Rat has extra buffs in some form or other for this turn coming up.
Yeah.
Because the Rat has obviously prepared a wide board.
And the Murloc War Leader did come off the top.
Yeah.
And that seems like a pretty obvious...
yeah, no help there for Meowth, though. He was hoping for something much cheaper and easier, or weapon or something. And he's going to take a beating this turn.
Well, 22 is the number if the Rat gets the attack buff.
Right.
Slightly more if he gets Wind Fury.
Okay.
Okay, that helps. That helps a little bit.
He just didn't want to have to use that Silence like that, but it made a lot of sense too, unfortunately for him.
Okay, no attack, no Wind Fury, not even +1/+1.
But +3 health is so big because it just takes you out of range of the Dragonfire for at least most of your stuff, and it's just going to make your board so difficult to deal with for the Priests who rely on those damage-based AoE spells.
The one concern for the Rat will be Pint-Sized Potion, Shadow Word Horror. But as it happens, those cards aren't present in Hotmeowth's hand at the moment, so the Rat has to make a decision. Which one does he want to play around? Oh, no, actually, he can't play around that, so... Oh, yeah, he can. He gets.
But he may feel that Plants... I mean, Plants is a way of making sure that he has stuff stuck to the board, and a lot of the time would be very important, but he has no buffs in hand, even though he has 6 in his deck.
No! The rat! Okay, Dragonfire Potion's still a turn away, so it's not as big as I was just making it out to be.
Yeah, he needed to do that to protect his other Murlocs anyway. Hotmeowth doing all he can to survive. He has still got a decent health total. Yep. The whiff on the Megasaur made this game a lot less scary than it looked to us before the Megasaur was played.
And I like the Doomsayer a lot here as well, from Hotmeowth, just to defend himself. Again, as with all of these matchups, it either soaks up 7 damage or it clears the board. Looks like it is going to soak up all 7 of the damage present, but it's time for Corpse Taker, and Corpse Taker does survive Dragonfire Potion. It's got all of its effects: Wind Fury, Lifesteal, Taunt, Divine Shield.
Yeah, the Doomsayer acting to heal 7, like you said there, and it is going to be just the Corpse Taker. Obviously, not ideal for Meowth. A lot of damage going to come. Having to use that silence. This is what he wanted to save that silence for. This is what he was trying to save that silence for. Yep. But he wouldn't, like, a lesson to everybody out there who doesn't play much Hearthstone. If there's no point dying with a card you're saving in your hand. And he would have died a lot of the time had he not just killed that war leader with a silence, and now find another way to deal with this, if there is such a way to deal with it.
It's now a 5/9 with Wind Fury. It's even stronger than Stormwatcher. And that's forgetting the Lifesteal and the Taunt and the Divine Shield.
Yeah, it's just horrible for Meowth to deal with. Doesn't look very good. You can Lyra into 1 spell and try and get silence.
Yeah, silence would actually dramatically change the state of this game at the moment. You Lyra, you Holy Smite the 1/1 and just hope. I can't think of any other card that saves Meowth in this position.
Yeah, if he thinks there's something, I mean, he can... I'm saying things he can do, not things I think he will do. He can play the Blood Mage and kill it and try and draw Greater Healing Potion.
Yep. Oh, still take 11 damage next turn.
And then you're just back in the same spot the turn after. Right, that's why I don't think that's the option, but it's a thing he can do. He'll be looking at playing the Spike Ridge Steed on the Blood Mage next turn, though. So the question is, how do I get to the aforementioned next turn without dying?
I'm going to go with Plan A. Doesn't get the silence. Funny that. It wasn't very likely.
So he just has to hope his opponent doesn't have Bone Mare. He doesn't have it at the moment.
There it is! Bone Mare gonna deal 18 damage this turn.
Is it now?
The Rat takes his first game of the series. Meowth's Priest has finally been toppled. The Rat overcomes the Cat for now.
The Rat overcomes the Cat.
Yeah.
It's like a Tom and Jerry. Starts off with one of them stuck in an elevator. I'm not going to let that go all day.
Okay.
But yeah, 2-1. So Priest defeated is the important thing, obviously. Rat's going to have to sweep with his Paladin against the Pirates from Meowth and Meowth's Shaman.
Still a long way to go this series.
Yep.
It's never nice coming in from being two wins behind.
But the Rat has found a way to get to this point of the tournament. I know that's obvious, but he sort of snuck through the Swiss on tiebreakers. He then snuck past Zalay 3-2.
Yeah.
And now he's gone from 2-0 to 2-1. Can he find a way to sneak past the Cat?
This is going to be the harder matchup. Mainly because Devolve is so strong and Hotmeowth picks up both of them. Devolve puts a stop to any Murloc synergy, any Corpse Taker buffs, any Bone Mare buffs, Spike Ridge Steeds, Tyrians, etc.
He is going to need to make a board, though, because devolving stuff into smaller stuff is usually fantastic. Like you say, it gets rid of all of those buffs. But if he has no board at all, then the Rat will just be able to generate problems just from the little guys. But that will change fast. I mean, Meowth's deck is full of things to do in the next 2 or 3 turns. But just a temporary issue is actually, right now, his hand is awful for the present, but as the future goes, as you said, these double devolves should be really good.
Just taking a look at Meowth's deck list for a second, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Double Bloodlust is something that sort of dropped out when the hero first came in, but then players in this tournament have been running double Bloodlust. They've decided that actually, you know what, the board still goes very wide. Bloodlust is too powerful for you to cut one, and it's a win condition.
Yeah, people were cutting it for a while against aggressive decks, not ever needing the second Bloodlust. You're too busy defending, and then you just win by attrition anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, in this format where There are aggressive decks, but there's also a thing called Priest. You need that double Bloodlust to give yourself an extra way to force the chances of winning against Priest. And any other control decks you might run into.
Right, second game in a row, Th3rat has had both Corpse Takers in his opening hand. No Stormwatcher drawn yet. Divine Shield lifesteal still intact. That's pretty good. Gonna have to coin out a Jade Lightning to get rid of this, and then the second one comes down immediately after.
Yeah, he's going to start making minions the difficult way, though. These 3/3s getting dangerous, obviously.
Yeah.
The next Jade Lightning is actually a very powerful card.
Yes. 4 mana, deal 4 damage, summon a 4/4. Yeah, I'd play that.
The light dims.
Just putting an extra threat on the board. Ideally, Th3rat wants Spike Rich Steed to hit a target next turn. So these 2 Divine Shields should be very helpful, but Devolve may come into play here. Nope, okay.
Yeah, and you say no because he would have done it first. Obviously, he's just going with this route of making fairly big minions from these Jades. It's actually a problem. Aya's going to be gigantic when drawn. Going into turn 6, Th3rat has got the required buffs. One of the things we've seen a few times from Murlocs, they can get these draws where most of the cards aren't interactive with each other, like Rockpool Hunter doesn't have as many 1-drops to target, etc.
Yeah.
And so occasionally you get these weird hands where you have to just think about, how does this actually pan out? How's it going to play out? But the Rat should have a target next turn for this Bone Mare. And unfortunately for him, the target's not going to be a very big one with this double Devolve in hand.
Well, that's the problem. Spike Rich Steed, I said Devolve is the strongest card in Hotmeowth's deck here, and this shows why. Spike Rich Steed is such a strong card, but Devolve shuts it down entirely and will literally turn the Protector into a Wisp.
That's not protecting anybody.
Oh, sorry. Or a Snowflipper Penguin.
Penguin's better. Definitely. Although the Wisps are kind of good as well. I'm happy with those, but not happy with them when they are dead, and if I can't Bone Mare them, I don't really care. All right, this Devolve's just going to...
Funnily enough...
one minion.
Funnily enough, the Devolve isn't enough to shut down Bone Mare.
It's not, but it's enough to put you in a pretty good spot. Yeah, I was going to go get the information required first. Do I really need to?
I like this a lot. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you get no information from the Devolve. You know that it's going to be 2 Wisps, and no, Hotmeowth decides it's just not necessary here. I can't clear both minions anyway.
It's also being slightly greedy. Like, if you Devolve going into the Bone Mare turn and something gets Bone Mared, then you do have to use the other Devolve. If you've got this Taunt set up like this, then you can Devolve after the Bone Mare's done its work and get rid of 2 problems at once.
Sort of. The only downside is that Bone Mare becomes a random 6-mana minion.
Sure, yeah.
Unlike Spike Rich Steed, where you completely get rid of all of the threats entirely, doing it to Bone Mare is not quite as effective, but it still does do a lot of work.
Yeah, it does a lot, and again, having that second one, 6 drops, it's okay when you get 3 of them at once. Getting one's a bit hit and miss.
I just realized why Hotmeowth couldn't play the Devolve last turn, because he would have left the one of the Wisps alive.
Right.
That Wisp could not be devolved after that. So if that Wisp got buffed,
oh, I see,
Hotmeowth would not have been able to answer.
You can't devolve the 0 drops.
Yep.
Good catch. We've seen that happen in professional play as well.
We have.
Usually with frogs, though. Usually with hexed frogs.
Yeah. Which is why the mistake would be even easier to make, actually, or harder to notice with Wisps, because it's not something you see very often.
Now the devolve, getting that extra value, getting the value tool actually working.
Or Snowflipper Penguins.
The golden penguin's so lovely.
Surf's up.
Meanwhile, Meowth fighting for his life here. Feel like if he can survive maybe 2 more turns, this game will turn around. The Jades from the Eye, the first one's going to be a 5/5. The second one's going to be 6/6, obviously.
Yeah.
If he can just hold in there, he's got a chance to draw his Thrall, he's got a chance to draw his Evolve, he's already got Doppelgangs. It's right on the edge of turning the corner with this.
Problem for Meowth, what was I saying about the second Devolve earlier? It doesn't work on Wisps, doesn't work on Snowflipper Penguins. Th3rat can just drop Spike Rich Steed on the Penguin. He's not doing it, though.
Going as wide as he can. got a lot of chip damage earlier in this game as well. A lot of times where he just refused trades knowing that Meowth had to make them. And that has put Meowth down to a slightly awkward health total.
Yeah.
Meowth has a lot of draws here that are very good for him.
He does.
Portal's one. That's not one. That's really, really bad.
Yeah, Maelstrom Portal is the best one I can think of as well. Devolve, Hero Power into spell damage. Maelstrom Portal may have been a full board clear.
I think Evolve would have been okay.
Mm-hmm. So what does Meowth do this time? Maybe it is just Think from Below Doppelgangster. Put stuff on the board that has to be dealt with because there's the threat of Thrall or Evolve.
Yeah, lethal threats are there. They're not particularly terrifying, but they're definitely there.
Oh,
he
gets the Doomsayer from the Devolve. Wow, the look on the Rat's face pretty much sums up how he's going to be feeling this game. Hero Power Spike, which indeed can come down, but the Rat does not have the board presence that he used to anymore.
And if he moans about Devolve ever again, I'm going to remind him of this moment, because he had some pretty bad ones yesterday. He wasn't scared to tell us about them. I'm sure we won't hear as much about this one.
What goes around comes around, I guess.
Now he just has to deal with normal problems rather than the large problem the Rat have created there. And it should be okay. Interesting choice here. He could have gone for the Mana Tide and tried to draw into more stuff, but he feels the stuff he's got, coupled with making the chance of getting your Taunt Totems, is actually better, and that's where he's going.
Yeah, this is just so deflating.
Yeah, you can see the Rat trying
moment.
to, look, I'm at DreamHack, I've got to summon up some energy, I can still win this game with the correct draws. Maybe Hotmeowth's hand is awful, but he knows this is probably over. If this was ladder, he would have already conceded. But he's trying to summon up the energy that's got him this far. I keep saying he's gone through a lot in this tournament. He thought he was out more than once of this event.
Yeah, and it looks like this time he probably is out. As Hotmeowth just draws another Thing from Below. 0 mana 5/5s with taunts, protecting Hotmeowth's face from threats which aren't even there anymore.
Sets up lethal next turn.
Very easily with the Bloodlust.
Yeah. And the Rat
Okay.
just gives it up. Meowth goes through to the semi-finals on the back of a couple of interesting matches there.
Yeah, the Devolve completely changed that game. That's not to say that Meowth would not have won anyway. He would have still had another game after that one, even if he did lose. So Meowth was in a great spot regardless, but that Devolve is definitely one that I'm going to remember.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. If Hotmeowth is complaining about Devolve after this, I will be very, very surprised. That Priest mirror as well, the Rat set it up so incredibly well, but I do think maybe he put a little bit too much faith into that Burgly Bully so far as to playing his Prophet Velen early on.
Yeah.
Just completely all committing into that Burgly Bully. It would have paid off in spades had he picked up that Shadow Reaper Anduin, but unfortunately the draws just were not there. So it's going to be Hotmeowth, our first semi-finalist. Unfortunately, the Rat will be done in this tournament, but he had a fantastic run. He did not think he would even make it to the top 16, and then he managed to just get in there as the 16th place, took out Zalay, put up a fantastic fight against Meowth. So congratulations to him for making it this far. What a series it was already, and we have 6 more total for today. 3 more quarterfinals will be coming up first. Our next one will be Walla Oompa versus Sao Yun. We have seen Walla Oompa on stream several times before. He is a card game veteran with a very interesting lineup. He's got that double Prince Rogue deck, which I don't know if I'm convinced yet. I'm still looking for him to convince me that this was the pick, but it's worked for him so far, so you certainly can't question those results. And then Sao Yun is a player for Kyoto Esports, but we have not seen him as of yet, so not really sure what his game plan is here.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's brought. I must admit, I was prepping for this particular game because I knew I was on first, and I have no idea what's going on with Sao Yun there, but it'd be interesting to see what he has brought to this event, because we've seen, in the top 16 at least, quite a wide range of different stuff.
Yeah, we definitely have, and we will continue to do so. Next quarterfinal will be coming up very shortly. One quarterfinal down, only 3 to go. After 3 intense days of play, we have slowly but surely whittled down a group of 130 players, and now we're down to just 8. My name's Cora, and joining me for this set is going to be Noxious and Lorinda. Guys, Hotmeowth just took a big series against Th3rat. He's put himself as our first semifinalist. But let's go ahead and check out the bracket and see what we've got coming up for you all later on today. Our next matchup is going to be Walla Oompa taking on Sao Yun. As soon as we get that one up for you, we can see who our next 2 quarterfinals will be as well. But we've seen Walla Oompa on stream several times this weekend. He's both faltered and impressed, I think. So I'm still waiting for him to really make his mark, but he can absolutely do it. Sao Yun, however, we have not seen yet. So now I think we can actually check out that bracket and see what we've got here. Yep, it is going to be Walla Oompa versus Sao Yun, and then we will have Talion taking on Muzzy. That is going to be a big one. And finally, it will be Tars versus Insum. And then we will have, of course, our top 4, our finals, and our champion. So, Walla Oompa, he's the only one that we know really anything about, that we know what they have brought. And his rogue deck is absolutely strange. It's strange that he's brought rogue in the first place.
What's a rogue?
But then he's sort of elevated it with the princes. Noxious, why do you think he did this?
I mean, to be fair, I think the Prince Keliseth Tempo Rogue on ladder is a dominant force. I mean, it's one of the decks that you haven't heard of too much, in tournament play, but on the ladder it's been doing extremely well. And now Prince Valinar's been played in Miracle Rogue, a lot of it. You've seen Prince Keliseth in Tempo Rogue. Now, once you start realizing both are playable, maybe you try to find a list where you can include both of them and then get yourself some extra taunt value. I mean, we've seen Stonehill Defenders in Rogue, not something we see too much of, so it's very value-oriented / tempo, so it's very, it's a little bit going in multiple directions, I guess is the best way to put it, but it seems to be doing okay. Unfortunately, not the best deck that he's had a good performance with. His Priest tends to do a lot, his Shaman that is tends to do a little bit better than that, so I'm not sure how the Rogue's going to fare, especially against aggressive lineups.
Yeah, talking about where you were saying that he's impressed and he's also faltered, where he's impressed has been how he's built his own decks to suit his style of play, and he understands how to play the game. He knows what he's trying to achieve. Where he's faltered has been more mechanical play, the stuff you gain through thousands of hours of practice, where you just don't miss a hero power, you don't miss that. He hasn't actually made strategical big blunders. He just sometimes doesn't get the ordering quite right because he doesn't play as much Hearthstone as some other games.
It is also possible that because this is his first big shot at the limelight, maybe he's been a